Hey everyone, welcome back with Mac. Today we are once again continuing our playthrough of ECW House Party Mixtape. And as if you didn't know already, and this is your first time clicking on one of these videos, this is a ROM hack for WrestleMania 2000 that was released on the N64 by the Aki Corporation. And this is a ROM hack made by GM Spectre. Has a lot of help, as you see in those opening credits. This is the SK Styles edition, the first one utilizing the SK Styles patch in one of the ROM hacks. And that means we got some super finishers. It means we can edit the AI settings of custom characters and look at the AI settings of the characters like the main roster in this game and stuff like that. And an exhibition mode, if you do like a belt match or something like that, superstars come down with the belt and stuff. So all a bunch of small little nice details and cool features, and added stuff back in and stuff like that, by SK Styles, just to make the game that much better and stuff like that. But with that said, we're getting back to the ECW land of extreme here, and it looks like this time we're taking on the Eliminators here. But I believe this is a one-on-one. What if I just didn't? Yeah. So we got Perry Saturn here. I could be wrong, but I think I've heard some interviews where apparently the Eliminators didn't like each other. Don't know why, but it seems like Perry Saturn, he seems to be doing a lot better nowadays in the lights, if you didn't know. I think he literally, it wasn't even just they lost contact, he literally went missing for a few years at one point. I think maybe around the 2010s, like maybe 2008-ish. Don't quote me on the time, the timeline, because I'll be honest, I barely remember what day it is and stuff like that. I got a lot of, my life is a mess, but either way, he pretty much disappeared just from, cut contact from everybody, because, he was just addicted to drugs, unfortunately, and, it's good to say that he's, in a much better place nowadays, and he's cleaning himself up, And, as they say, he got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and he's done a few interviews recently, with James Romero, I think his name is. I can't remember what his last name is, but James from WSI. He also does the Stevie Richards show, and, the Dutch Mantel show and stuff like that. So he's got a lot of good shows, but he also interviews a lot of talent and past wrestlers and stuff like that. And he did an interview with Perry Saturn. They cleared the air about a lot of things, and Saturn kind of talked about his career a lot as well, and certain funny things in his career. So it's a good interview if you want to check it out, and if you haven't, as well as just to see what happened to the poor guy, and some things that he did in his past that may have led to the decisions that he made and stuff like that. It's a very great interview. And Perry Saturn, all things considered, he seems like a pretty nice guy. He looks like the kind of guy where he seems like a real nice guy, but then when you kind of mess with him, he seems like when he turns, he doesn't take any shit, as you would say. But I don't know, it's probably also because he's older, and he's gone through hell, where he probably has that a much brighter, better personality than he probably did in his youth. So it sounds like, he got pissed off at a lot of people and stuff. Even him and Maven did a video together, in which, I guess Maven, Perry Saturn was the only guy that Maven couldn't earn his respect when he came in, because, Maven was a tough enough guy, if you don't know, which was a reality TV series. So he pretty much got a really good deal, better than most people, and, he instantly got to get to the biggest the biggest show in the wrestling industry at that time, WWE, and got the free ride and stuff like that. And a lot of veterans were not happy about it. Test was one of them that Maven listed wasn't too cool to him at first, but Maven said he was able to kind of earn the respect of most people that were there and stuff like that. But I think the issue with Perry Saturn is that I don't think Saturn was there for too much longer once Maven was there, so it was just kind of one of those things. But they kind of cleared the air, and Saturn and stuff was joking around for most of the video while Maven was trying to be serious. But good videos. He seems like a halfway decent guy, and apparently even when Perry Saturn, he was you know, strung out on drugs all the time in the streets. Apparently he was in a park. I believe he was like sleeping there or something like that, or he was doing drugs or just hanging out there or something at night, and he actually saved some woman from getting you know, I don't even know the proper term. Well, you know, I'll just say, you know, from being taken advantage of. That's the best way I can put it. You know, I don't want to sour anybody, but any of their moods. But yeah, he saved a woman who, you know, was being taken advantage of in a park, and somehow he said he was so strung out on drugs that he actually got the guy he like fought off shot off like a bullet, and it was like the back of his neck or his shoulder or something like that, and he didn't even know at that point. I guess you know, the EMTs that arrived on the scene and stuff like that, you know, and the police and stuff like that, when 911 were called, you know, they had to pretty much force him and bag him into the freaking ambulance. So, you know, I'm sure there's some aspects of that are exaggerated, but I mean, the fact is, you know, he did save a woman from, you know, probably one of the worst things you could ever experience in life, and for that, you know, you could be a massive asshole for all I care, but I mean, that's just an admirable thing to do, especially when the guy, you know, was in such a bad point of his life as well, you know, strung out on drugs. But that said, that's not going to save him from this 5-star frog splash. Nice working with you, Perry. Yeah, I don't really get to finish too many matches with the 5-star frog splash. I don't know. Of course, we got, you know, Bubba Ray Dudley beating Balls Mahoney in a 50-minute, you know, submission match. Man, look at all these submission victories. That's funny. Another one. Nobody can just win fairly. Well, I guess it's not unfair, but I guess it's just, that's how extreme the sport is. Nobody can win from a pin. They have to pass out from the pain. And now we're on TNN. I'm gonna guess the Dudleys. Ooh. Alright, I'm gonna guess Super Crazy. Well, 1 for 1. But we're gonna have to take on Mr. Psychosis here. By the way, well, a lot of people, one of the things they always list when they say they love ECW is the theme music and stuff like that, and how ECW was able to kind of skirt the copyright laws and stuff like that. You know, obviously Walk by Pantera's, you know, a lot of people associate that with RVD at this point. A lot of people say one of the big things about the Sandman was his Enter the Sandman theme by Metallica was a big part of his presentation. Same with Tommy Dreamer, Alice in Chains. I kind of like his WWE theme, but a lot of people didn't like that song. But I don't know. I mean, a lot of people said that WWE should have just paid for, you know, the rights to the music. But I mean, if they're not going to use guys like Tommy Dreamer or Sandman and stuff like that really all that much, you know, why not just make a, you know, WWE theme and stuff like that. That did not work out how I thought it was. I called them over. I beckoned them. It's my fault. Also, just for the spirit, since it's a luchador match, you know, made this a lumberjack match just to kind of add, you know, just a little bit of a challenge to myself here, because, you know, that way it's no weapons or anything like that. It's just pure athletic contest type deal. As you can see, I can't jump out of the ring, but he can sure as hell vault over my suplex there. Psychosis was also another guy that I think was in a bad way a little bit ago. Not in like drugs or anything like that. I think he just had some health issues, but I think it was Chris Jericho. I don't remember if he brought attention to it or like made it himself, or if he's just like donated to it. Because Chris Jericho, he donates like money to a lot of wrestlers that need help and stuff like that when they ask for it, like in a GoFundMe thing or something like that. You know, he did the same thing for Dutch Mental and stuff, and, you know, hopefully he, you know, clears up his health issues, him and his wife. But Psychosis, I remember, was having some health issues not too long ago as well, but you know, I think he did pretty, I think he was able to raise some funds and stuff like that. That's the kind of the really sad thing about the wrestling business. The saddest part is these guys give their bodies, or they sacrifice, their wives, or times with their families. Even like a simple bump could go wrong, and kind of like with Draws and Dewo, and it could be sayonara, type deal. And the fact that these guys don't really have any sort of insurance or health coverage or anything like that, which there is a part of it that they kind of a lot of the wrestlers of the past also messed up some insurance policies and stuff like that. Like they used to have the Lloyds of London type thing. And I think Rick Rude and Mr. Perfect both, cashed in on their Lloyds of London stuff to get their money, their insurance for retiring, and then they ended up wrestling again. So they kind of just screwed those guys out of their money and stuff like that. I think that was, when they stopped doing the Lloyds of London stuff with the WWE and wrestling and that whole ordeal. So, I mean, you kind of have to blame that one on the boys a little bit, but it's just kind of sad that, even in the WWE, they don't have any sort of health insurance stuff. And when you really think about it, like, I can't imagine, I don't know, I probably don't know what I'm talking about. I was going to say, like, I don't think, like, it would, with how much money the WWE makes, I would assume they would definitely have the money to afford that kind of stuff, as far as, getting good insurance and stuff like that, but I don't know, maybe not. I mean, AEW tried to do the same thing at first, and, they have, like, a big roster, but, like, obviously, the stuff that the WWE would have to cover, that would be, like, 10 times the amount of people AEW had, and AEW was like, yeah, we can't do it, I guess. They just stopped providing health care for their wrestlers and stuff like that. So if Tony Khan is, the billionaire and stuff like that, can't do it, I guess it's just something that seemingly can't be done in the wrestling industry, unfortunately. And I'm sure as far as, like, being a wrestler too, like, holy crap, that's got to be, like, the worst kind of job to have if you want, health insurance and coverage and stuff like that, just with how dangerous it is. Alright, we landed this one. I don't know, I associate that taunt so much with managers. It's just funny seeing RVD have it. But this should be the end of this match here. Alright, 3 count fall. I remember thinking too back in the day when I was, like, playing No Mercy and stuff, like, just how advanced it was in comparison to WrestleMania 2000, because it said pinfall instead of 3 count fall, and the look of the arena and the announcer's table and backstage, No Mercy really did have a much bigger WWF presentation than I think WrestleMania 2000 did, but it is annoying that they got rid of, like, a few little fun features. Like, I think it sucks that they got rid of the lumberjack option and ring out option in matches and stuff like that, No Mercy. And, I hate... It seemed like some match types just got worse progressively throughout the series. Like, in World Tour, right? You had the tag team and handicap elimination match options. Then in Revenge, they removed that for some reason. You can't have elimination matches anymore. And then by the time you got to No Mercy, it's just you can't even have tag options in a handicap match. And I'm assuming, this is once again just an assumption, that maybe they had that, no tag option for the handicap match just because of all, like, the handicap matches backstage. But I don't know, even when you think of it like that, I mean, they could have easily just changed the rule set. So I don't really know why they took that out. I mean, I think they did an interview with Sanders Keel, who was, a THQ producer and stuff like that, around the time that these games were being made and stuff like that, but he just said, like, oh, I think, we were worried about other match types and we just didn't really think to do that and stuff like that. And it's just like, damn, that's so dirty. But yeah, I think, honestly, I think most people think the handicap match stuff is some of the worst parts of No Mercy. I don't know. I have been thinking of because it does seem like there are, you know, people kind of like looking at No Mercy through like more of an analytical lens and stuff like that as of late. So I have been thinking, you know, maybe I could make you know, like a video of like the things that I don't like about No Mercy and stuff. Because I feel like there are people that touch on like certain subjects, but like I feel like for as much as No Mercy is my favorite wrestling game, I think there's still a lot of stuff that you know, people don't go over as to why, you know, it's a, you know, kind of poor features for like, you know, modern times and stuff like that, or just features that, you know, didn't need to be added, or, you know, kind of drag down the game a little bit. But you guys let me know, is that something you'd like to see, you know, in a video in the future or something like that? If I did, you know, I have some other things planned, so it wouldn't be for a little while, but comment down below if you'd like to see, you know, the issues with No Mercy type video and stuff like that. Because there's that, you know, just with any of these games, I think there's a lot of issues, you know, that we can overlook. But, you know, honestly, the gameplay is just so fun. All the positives are so much better. I feel like the Aki games really, obviously I, you know, did a whole bunch of secrets videos, so I mean, when you look into the Aki series, there's so many Easter eggs in the series just spread throughout all the games, and you know, some games have some Easter eggs that aren't in others and stuff like that. And I feel like they continued that with you know, the PS2 games for a little while, but I feel like it kind of got to a point where they just kind of stopped with those like little Easter eggs and stuff as much. And you know, like you'll see videos like about 2007, it's just kind of like about more like alternate, you know, storyline paths and like a season mode or something like that, rather than, you know, like some hidden feature or anything like that. But you know, the Easter eggs and crazy stuff you could do back in the day, that's some of the most fun you can have in a wrestling game, in my opinion. And you can tell, you know, that's how you can tell when it was made by a real wrestling fan as well. I've also heard that you know, Fun with Cause, he's a little bit of a friend of the channel and stuff like that. You know, he visits every once in a while, leaves a nice comment and stuff like that. And you know, I watch some of his videos, you know, his Great Wrestler videos, which if you haven't, you should check out his channel. He's, you know, got the CAW resource pack and shows you where, you know, all the resources to get specific CAWs from specific eras, who's got the best. And also, you know, he makes some really good edit packs for existing wrestlers, stuff like that. But also, you know, he did, you know, I'm bringing him up specifically because he mentioned that it would be awesome if we had like a TNA, you know, ROM hack and stuff like that of like the golden era, you know, 2002 to 2008. And what the hell? Did not expect to see him here. God damn it, and he ruined my 5-star frog splash. Get him, Alfonso. Alright, hopefully Alfonso can do some defense, and he didn't. God damn, my partners just can't do defense for crap in this game. It's kind of why I like doing tornado tag matches in this version of the mod. I can get away with it because it's ECW, but also just, god damn it, I was reversing things. But I could also get away with it, but I mean, like, it's just so annoying at times, you know, having to like, I think it just took video games a really long time to kind of get a single player tag mode that kind of is, you know, fun and stuff like that. I mean, it's still better than the SmackDown games, you know, the early ones with tag matches and stuff like that, but jeez Louise, man. I don't know. That said, though, I think it's the tag matches do work very well for like multiplayer and stuff like that. It's just when you're doing like season mode matches and stuff, and you know, your partner is an ass clown and can't play defense and stuff like that, it's just a pain in the ass. But yeah, I don't know. I think I was talking about the 2002 to 2008 TNA ROM hack that Fun Would Cause suggested. Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. Even with ECW, I never watched ECW. I never watched WCW in the early 90s. And to be honest with you, I haven't watched too much of the WWF from the new generation era. That said, these are still awesome ROM hacks and stuff like that. And if, you know, someone were to make it. You know, GM Spectre said he's kind of done with that stuff, so don't go and harass him about it or anything like that. But, you know, if someone out there, you know, wants to be an up-and-comer and make a ROM hack of TNA during its golden years or stuff like that, you know, I think that, I mean, I'd play the hell out of that. Although the key word is ROM hack. That's all I can do, really. I can't do mods. We even had people, you know, talk to me about, like, hey, you know, I know you play some, you know, ROM hacks and stuff on your channel. You want to try out my mod and stuff like that? And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to, but I have no idea how to. You're going to have to talk me through every single little detail and experience. I don't have Project 64. I have M64 and all this other stuff. And that's usually that's usually when the conversation gets dropped. Alright, because he had the nerve to interfere in my match, this match is going to be a special last man standing, TKO, and submission only option. So that's the only way I can win this match. But time to get our revenge on Just Incredible. Man, here's another guy. I don't know. I don't think I've brushed up on this either. But, you know, obviously, there's been a lot of controversy with Just Incredible in the, you know, wrestling space as of late. You know, in the past, he was always, you know, told, you know, there was always a story about him, you know, screwing indie promoters out of their money and, you know, getting paid to show up to do a match or something like that, and then he just doesn't show up, you know, a total no-show, which is interesting because it's usually the opposite, in which the indie promoters are the ones screwing over the wrestlers. So I guess that's good. Well, it's not good, but at least it's, you know, a little bit of justice. But, you know, obviously all those guys aren't bad, but, you know, he's just known for, you know, bailing out on promotions. Like, he just stopped showing up to the WWE in 2007 because he said, well, I mean, I don't want to just go to the job all the time, you know. It's like, if you were there at the job, that's your job, man. Like, I'm sorry, but your heyday was kind of over at that point. I think even in the WWF, and when he was with the X Factor, I think something happened to which, like, he just stopped showing up there as well. And, you know, or I don't know if he stopped showing up or whatever, but, like, he just kind of, you know, he kind of had a bad reputation. You know, they ended on poor terms, I believe, for his first, well, that would be his second run in the WWF, so. Goodness. The devastating walk to the side. But even beyond that, man, I mean, like, you know, he'll advertise things like, hey, here's this, I think, like, that cane, you know, like a signed cane or, like, merchandise or something like that he'll sell to fans. And, you know, they'll buy it, and then he just won't send it to them. And, you know, Maven, once again, Maven's just everywhere nowadays when it comes to, like, you know, news and YouTube and stuff like that. And, yeah, he would take Vance's money and wouldn't send the products. And I guess his excuse was, he said, well, you know, yeah, they gave me the money for the product and I wanted to send it to them, but, you know, then I didn't have any money because you know, they paid me and I had to feed my family. It's like, hey, you know, he's also like a guy that's strung out on drugs and stuff like that. You know, it's just, it's no disrespect to them. It's just, you know, that's how it is. You know, it's a terrible business for that kind of stuff, unfortunately. And, you know, the pain that they go through on their daily lives is unimaginable, you know, and stuff like that. But still, I mean, you can't be screwing over the fans that, you know, paid money to get you where you are nowadays. And, you know, I mean, yeah, it does have a family, and it is sad, but, like, it does sound like there's a lot of, I don't know for sure, like, he doesn't seem like the most trustworthy guy, obviously, but, you know, just with his history, you kind of have to take into account, you know, that he probably is not telling the full truth, and, you know, he probably is still spending a lot of money on drugs when he can, and it's just sad, man, to see, you know, people that you once seen on TV and look up to, and, you know, stuff like that. Try to run away. You know, it's just sad to see the, you know, the state of some of these guys nowadays. But Pinfalls and Pixels, you know, he's the one who kind of, like, exposed Just Incredible for all that stuff, made a video on him, kind of brought him into the mainstream, and you know, he's kind of experiencing, you know, a boom period for his channel as well. And, you know, even though, like, it's kind of unfortunate, you know, I think Pinfalls and Pixels, He makes a lot of really interesting, varied kind of topics and content on his channel. Oh god, what the hell kind of shit is this? Now they're interfering in each other's matches? God damn it, this is some sort of team up. But anyway, I think his name's Glocky, and uh-oh, there goes Alfonso. But his name's Glocky, and he, like, you know, he did the rise and fall of WWF New York, you know, the rise and fall of action figures, you know, Sunday Night Heat, Velocity. So he has a lot of, you know, really interesting videos on topics that he delves into that I don't see too many YouTubers kind of go into. You know, obviously Wrestling Battles has, you know, his individual wrestlers and, you know, tag teams and eras and stuff like that, just reliving the war. But I don't know, I think that Pinfalls and Pixels, he has a lot of very interesting, varied concepts or videos that, you know, if you haven't checked them out before, you gotta go check them out after this video. But geez, I feel like this whole video I'm just kind of like bringing up other people's work and just saying, hey, you should check out them out, you know. Don't check out Bino Mac, you know, these gameplay videos are poop. You should be checking out these real guys here. But you know what, I can't help it. I mean, there's just so many, you know, skilled content creators on this platform and stuff like that. Whereas, you know, I usually just kind of do some gameplay videos and try and, I don't know, I wouldn't say I'd reinvent the Aki formula or anything like that, but just try and do interesting concepts for Aki videos, you know, like the Evolution series and, you know, like my comparisons and stuff like that. So I tried also doing, you know, cool one-offs and stuff. I do really want to do an iceberg video. I just don't know how I would go about that because as much as I love the Aki community, I'm not exactly in the know when it comes to the Aki community. So, you know, I'd have to kind of do some, you know, tests and I guess beta, you know, draft kind of, you know, icebergs before I kind of nail it down, because there's probably things that are very well known to me that, like, are probably just not well known to the public or something like that, you know, that I'm probably going to overestimate, or probably the opposite, in which, you know, things that I thought were really kind of rare that, you know, everybody kind of knows, stuff like that. But we'll come to that when I have, you know, time to do something like that. Good lord. See, I love how Taz is just staring down freaking Bill Alfonso out there. He wants more. Alright, let's see here. It's tough because this dude, like, that's why I hate the comeback mechanics in this game. It's just like, no matter what this guy does, man, like, he keeps getting a finisher. And I don't know, that's just, I don't know, I've complained about not being able to set your own difficulty like 20 times and stuff like that. That's just how WrestleMania 2000 is, unfortunately. I think it's the only game that does that too. Which No Mercy is like a half and half, like you can set your difficulty at first, but eventually it's just, you can put it on freaking beginner or something like that. You know, if you're going for the WWF title, you're pretty much playing on hard mode. See, this is not good. But the thing is he has to make me tap or knock me out, and I don't know if he has it in him. And I don't know, it's no rope break, so we just kind of have to keep wearing him down here. And there we go. We got him. Well, as we take a look at the end results, the records of this video, thanks for watching, fellas. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe to me, Bino Mac. Check out next Saturday's playthrough where I start Extreme Tournament at Hardcore Heaven. Check out Aki Sunday as well. Tomorrow I compare VPW 2 and No Mercy. I already mentioned that I do comparison videos, evolution of the series, reviews, rankings, and more one-off vids on Aki Sunday. And if you want to see some non-Aki wrestling game playthroughs, check out my Wrestling Wednesday playthrough. I'm currently playing WWF Attitude with Stone Cold. And if you want non-wrestling playthroughs, subscribe to my Let's Play channel Bino Max in the description below for some GTA, Dragon Ball Z, SpongeBob, and more. Above all else though, please remember to have a nice day.